Good morning. Oh, I missed you. How have you been? Good, yeah? Fabulous. I'm so happy to have Amy back. I have to say that. Yeah, welcome back. Yay. I know, it is always good. It's always good when we get to hang out together. I'm just saying. Yeah, I love it. So for those of you who don't know, I have been on vacation this last week, and then the prior week, Reverend Linda and I went to the Ministers' Convention, and we really enjoyed the Ministers' Convention. You sent me to the Ministers' Convention, so I want you to know that your contributions actually go someplace that benefits me as well. And I not only participated and got fed at the Ministers' Convention, but I participated in a large way at the Ministers' Convention. So when Orlando happened and the 50 people were killed at the gay nightclub, another minister called me and she asked me how I was doing because I'm gay and she's a black woman. And she said, I've been having this experience of being a black person and it's been really hard to see all the police shootings. And so I just wanted to reach out to you to see how you felt as a gay person with this experience. And I told her, I said, you know, it's just as painful for me to experience it as it is for me to see somebody who's black being shot. I mean, it's just, or a police officer being shot. Like, that's just painful for me. It's painful because I want to live in a world that works for everyone. And in this Centers for Spiritual Living, we are invested in creating a world that works for everyone. And then when there's a whole bunch of people being shot, so-called randomly, but not really, because of our institutionalized racism or because of some kind of hatred that people have against anybody who's different, then it hurts my heart. It hurts my soul because I really want to see this world that works for everyone actually manifest during my lifetime. And I'm invested in creating that. And what we recognized, what this other minister and I recognized, is that ministers suffer too. Who knew? Yes, we're all human, but there was a lot of sadness around that event. And so this other minister and I created a ceremony. We called it the Oneness and Healing Ceremony because after Orlando happened, then we had the, Philando Castile got shot, and just over and over and over. There's so many black men and now women, children who've been shot, that we realize that what we need to do is heal ourselves. So in this organization, we teach that we're connected to everybody. Now, it's proven in quantum physics now, too, but it's also something that the sages and the mystics of all time have taught, that we're all one. We're all part of that one thing. And whenever I talk about being part of the one thing, I talk about being part of the divine itself, the infinite everything itself. And so whatever healing I have within me permeates everybody. So I start looking at, well, what can I do? But then where am I unhealed? Where am I unhealed in an area where there's somebody who's an other? I don't know, maybe you see some political people out there right now that you might feel like they're an other. And and that gives us our healing work. How do I feel love when somebody's spouting off things that are hateful? How do I feel love whenever they're talking about me in a hateful way, right? How do I feel love for them? And that's where the deep work is, and that's what the invitation is whenever you walk into the doors of a Center for Spiritual Living, is to start looking within and finding those areas, those rough edges within ourselves. And that's the uncomfortable part. So I did have the opportunity to do this Oneness and Healing Ceremony. There was 225 ministers there, and it was a really beautiful ceremony. And I'm honored and privileged that you as a community sent me to go do this. And I want you to know that while you may be sitting here on Sunday and getting your spiritual food, that what you're also doing is contributing to the world that works for everyone by helping me do things like that. It's a really big deal, and so I want to thank you and I want to honor you. And I also want you to know that I get keep getting feedback about our community. So I've been away a lot more than I ever have been. So I missed, I didn't miss, but I missed you. But I was away for 3 Sundays of the last 4 in the last month. And one of them was fun. One of them was Sister Spirit, which is fun, but I'm working. And then one of them was vacation. And I'm receiving feedback from the people who come into this community on how welcoming we are. I'm receiving feedback from the musicians on how generous we are. We're getting well known with other ministers, with other musicians. Like, we're a place to come to that people like seek out to come to. We're actually fully booked for the rest of the year for music because musicians love coming here because we love really good music. Thank you, Amy. And we're also very generous to our musicians. So I want to thank you all for being part of a community that's established that consciousness. We are growing. We're 4 years old and growing in power and consciousness and love. And each and every one of you have contributed to that. So as you do your own self work, and as you come into this community, and as you are welcoming to others, you're creating an impact that ripples throughout this entire organization and throughout this local community. And so I love you for that. I want to thank you and honor you. Definitely. Well, this month we're studying the global transformation through individual transformation. And our topic today is we strive to assist individuals in their own evolutionary awakening process. I think that's why I love Centers for Spiritual Living, because it's about your own evolutionary awakening. It's not about what we think you should be or how you should be doing it. It's more about you finding that inner fire, that passion. What lights you up? What gives you passion for life, and what helps you feel connected with the world? Now, we offer tools of transformation. We offer it through our classes, through our workshops, through Gourmets Through God events. We offer all of these different things that we do because we're invested in you. We're invested in your own awakening. Because I think that's the only way we can create a world that works for everyone, is if we each individually find that path of passion, of connection with God, of connection with the divine within each and every one of us. We believe, through our own process of evolutionary awakening, that we contribute to the larger consciousness, and we create an evolving reality towards more connection, compassion, and cooperation. We have a role to play in how the world evolves. Ernest Holmes said, "The furtherance of evolution depends upon our ability to sense a unity with nature and her forces. When the knowledge of this unity comes to all, the tread of armies will cease, and the bugle call will also echo the soft notes of brotherly love." And that was Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living. What I believe is that our personal evolutionary awakening moves us from separation to unity. Now, I just went on a balloon ride. I got a bucket list thing done. Yay! Hot air balloon ride on Thursday, a couple of days ago. And the pilot was such a great storyteller. He was wonderful. And he was telling us about the very first balloon ride. And he said what they did is they had these brothers, it's late 1700, and they had paper. And so they created this balloon structure out of paper, and they actually thought it was smoke that caused the balloon to rise, or things to rise. So they made this huge fire, and they're blowing the smoke into this big envelope of paper, and it works. The hot air came up, it rose up, and then it flew like 10, 15 feet, and all of the farmers in the area, they saw this balloon, and they thought it was like a dragon. It was like this big, billowy thing that was smoking, and it was making, the paper was cracking. They're like, "Oh, what is this?" So all the farmers came over, and they came to the balloon, and then they cut it up to shreds. So the guys were like, oh, we better do something about that next time. So they did do it. They created another balloon. They made this big balloon envelope. And this time they were like, we want to see if it can fly things. So they put like a chicken in it and a duck in it and a sheep in like a little basket. But they didn't want the farmers to, come and destroy it, thinking that the dragon was taking off their farm animals. What the heck? And so what they did is they went around and they got all of the farmers drunk. They were like, hey, how you doing today? They got to get to buddy. They got them all drunk, and so they were all toasted, and so they were able to get their balloon to fly without any damage to the beasts, which it actually did fly. Now most of that story is true, not all of it, but because I did some research. I don't know. In my research, it didn't say anything about getting the people drunk. But it's a good story. What I love, though, is the people saw the balloon and they thought it was a dragon because it was other than what they were expecting. They saw something different than that was outside of their consciousness. It's outside of what their realm of reality is. And then they destroyed the thing that was outside their consciousness and outside their reality. And I wonder how many things in our life do we have where there's some new idea or new concept that comes into our world and it makes us uncomfortable and we have to destroy it, right? Like, oh, I don't like that idea. One of the ideas that I want to propose is the whole concept, which you're going to keep hearing about this, the concept of privilege, the concept of social justice. Because we're a community where we say spiritual innovation happens here, and spiritual innovation is actually work on the ground innovation. It happens in here, we transform ourselves, but it also echoes out into the world. And one thing I'm recognizing, and I talked about this, is how we have privileges that other people don't have. And as I awaken to my own privileges, I'm recognizing that it's incumbent on me to be the person with privilege to uplift and empower anybody who doesn't have the same privilege, because that's creating a world that works for everyone. And I talked about this. I had 2 opportunities at the Minister Convention to create and take a large role at the convention. The other thing I did was they had a emerging leaders night. What they did is they have a group of people who are 18 to 35 in San Diego called the Possibilitarians, and they are involved. There's 3 different centers that are involved, and they switch Sunday evenings and they have services together. Brilliant individuals. And they were doing the Wednesday night service for all the ministers at the convention, and they invited me to be their keynote speaker, which was really cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Well, one thing I did is because I had a room of 225 ministers, it wasn't all ministers, but I said, hey, how many ministers here are under 40? And I raised my hand and 2 other ministers raised their hand. And then I said, how many ministers are 60 and over? And I would say like 2/3 of the ministers raised their hand. It was a very large group. And I asked the question, as you love this organization, as I love this organization, in the next 5 to 20 years, when all of you retire, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I propose that because this center is the catalyst center for the Next Gen retreat. I am involved in a retreat that is focused on 18 to 35-year-olds, people who are in that age group. And there's not very many people in this organization who are doing that right now. And so I want you to know that people are awakening to what this community is up to. People are awakening to the fact that as a person who's not in that age group, so as a person who's under 40 and anybody who's over 40, that it's incumbent on the privilege that you have as an older person to support those who are under 40 in their spiritual evolution. Because I don't know about you. Now, I've had 16 years in this organization, so I'm privileged because I have all these tools already, and I've been able to use them, and I've been wildly successful in my life because I have been utilizing these tools in my life for 16 years. Now, imagine where you are right now, how long you've been utilizing these tools, how successful you have been in transforming through, personally, I've transformed through forgiveness. I've forgiven people. I have realized my worth. I've stepped into being an abundant creator in this world. I've actually learned how to deal with my finances through this center. I've learned how to deal with healthy relationships, and I continue to learn how to be in healthy relationships, to avoid triangulation, to avoid gossip, to start talking to people honestly and authentically. These are all skills that I learned through this particular teaching. And we call ourselves a spiritual organization. And what I love about that is, so my uncle is a docent at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center. And Gina and I went on a tour with him in New Mexico. And he talked about the native spirituality as spiritual, not a religion. And he said the distinction between spiritual and a religion is that a spiritual is an everyday thing. Everything is holy. Every experience is a holy event. So from eating your food, to talking with somebody, to walking down the street, everything is holy. And it's invested in all times. The spiritual person is connected to the wholeness of everything at all times. Versus a religion who promotes a dogma to be placed that you have to follow. So one is an inward, the other one is a overarching view. And I really like that because that's what Centers for Spiritual Living does for me and has created for me. So I want to encourage you to think about what are the areas that you might have privilege. And I'll just be really honest. There's areas I have privilege because I am white. I have no problem. If I've been pulled over by policemen so many times, I'm just saying, and I've gotten out of it every time. I've gotten out of tickets every time. One, probably because I'm a woman, and two, because I'm white. So just thinking about that kind of, I mean, yeah. It hasn't been recently, just so you know. I actually don't speed as much as I used to. So that's one area that I think about. I'm also so anybody who's a man has an advantage. We did this thing, and I'm going to bring it here. I'm so excited about doing this thing. We call this thing the Privilege Walk, and the Social Justice Committee and our organization does this Privilege Walk, and they just ask questions. So everybody stands in a line, and they ask questions like, if you had more than 50 books in your house when you were growing up, then step forward. And so you step forward. If you can show public displays of affection without feeling like you could be discriminated against or harmed or hurt because of it, if you can show public displays of affection like that, then you can step forward. And as a lesbian, I can't. I can't. I do. It's uncomfortable. Because I want to, but I also don't want to have somebody be hating on me either. So I'm very cautious. So we did this privilege walk, and I was fascinated to witness. I was near the end of the line, which surprised me, and so many people were way ahead, and the men, the white men were ahead. Even the gay white men were ahead of most people, which surprised me as well. And so it's just kind of an observation of how society has created these things. Now we, as spiritual people, we realize that we are not bound by our circumstances. So while we have these things happening in our lives, we also have the ability to overcome them by utilizing these tools. But we also need more than just that. I'm going to propose. We need each other. We need each other to speak up, to stand up, to start supporting the other person who's not of privilege in order to create the world that works for everyone. So it's not just doing our spiritual work, it's doing all the work out into the world as well. It's talking, it's voting, it's creating the laws, the ideas, it's dreaming up the idea of what would a world be like if it actually worked for everyone. Have you actually sat and thought about that? How would we be with each other? How would we be with our relationships? What would society look like? How would the nutrition in our society be? How would the education in our society be? Would we have prisons? So these are all things. We are at choice point now. We can choose to make a difference. We can choose to make an impact, but part of it is incumbent on us dreaming up the idea of possibility of what it could be. So I want to encourage you to take some time to dream up that possibility, to look into your heart and soul to find out what would it really be like for us to experience a world that worked for everyone. How would I be if I were in that world? What would I be doing? How would I be living? How would I be treating people? And we know that whenever we start thinking things in a certain way, action immediately follows. Because that's how the universe works. Our thoughts are the first thing that happens is an idea, right? A thought, an idea. Everything is created from an idea. Thoughts and ideas, that's the universe's currency. And so if we want to be in a wealthy world, if we want to be a thriving community, if we want to be a thriving country, then we need to start thinking of what that looks like. And then we need to start acting as if it's coming into fruition in order to be the catalyst to bring it so. Are you willing to start doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, I am. Because I'm really invested in this new idea, this possibility. In our book of the month by Thich Nhat Hanh, Peace is every step. One thing that he says is blaming never helps. When you plant lettuce, if it does not grow well, you don't blame the lettuce. You look into the reasons why it is not doing well. It may need fertilizer, it may need more water or less sun, but you never blame the lettuce. Yet if we have problems with our friends or our family or our country, we blame the other person. But if we know how to take care of them, they will grow well like lettuce. So I want you to think of how can we create the lettuce that we want? Let us begin. And so it is. Let's pray. Let us pray. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be here, to be amongst this amazing group of people. I know that I'm here to be a catalyst for good, for change in the world. I know that each and every one of us is designed specifically by the divine expression of love. That our bodies, our hearts, and our souls were imprinted with grace, with power, with love, with light, with creativity. And so I know and claim that the seeds of goodness, the seeds of creativity within me are growing, are blossoming, are being fed and watered and nurtured by the divine, are being fed and watered and nurtured by this community, are being fed and watered and nurtured by my friendships, by my relationships. And so I know and claim that as I stand here as a choice point, that I choose to be a light in the world, that I know each and every person here is a light worker in this world. That we are here to be this glorious expression of passion, of love, of joy, of creating a world that works for everyone, a new vision, a new idea, a new relationship is emerging right here and right now through each and every one of us. And so as I surrender into that idea, I know that it's already percolating within me, that it's already awakening within me, guiding me to the next right perfect step, guiding me to the next right and perfect words, that in my relationships, in my finances, in every aspect of my beingness, that I am awakened and pulled forth into a new idea of possibility. And so as I walk into that higher vision, I know that it is pulling me forward, that I cannot make a wrong step, that I am already on the right and perfect path, that the world has conspired for my greatest good. And so as I appreciate and as I feel the gratitude for that, I know that each and every person here awakens to that in a new way. And so as I go about my day, I'm awakened within over and over and over again, filled with the passion, filled with the excitement, filled with the knowledge of how to empower and uplift and support my community, my world, and my life, knowing that it is the infinite's life that I'm supporting, that we are all here together, connected, divinely inspired. It is very good, and I am grateful to recognize this truth, to claim this truth, to know this truth for each and every one of us, and to release these words, knowing that God's got it, that it's already done, and I don't have to do anything. It's to be present to the presence. Thank you, God, and so it is.